Suletta Mercury has a lot of eyes on her, in particular, Sophie Poloni. And speaking of Sophie...
That woman scares the shit out of me.
Powerful Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury is building up to something. Something big. Something earth-shattering. Something that's going to change the course of the series as we know it. As for what that's going to be, I don't know. It's getting harder and harder to predict where this series is actually going to go, as character motivations are pretty much all over the place. It seemed like at the beginning of the series, Suletta's mother, Elnora, was actually trying to get revenge against Delling and the entire Benneret group, but this episode makes it clear that she's kind of working with him directly, or at least trying to utilize him and his power for some mysterious project which goes by the name of Quiet Zero. What the fuck is Quiet Zero, you ask? Well, we get no answers to any of that in this episode. An episode which is essentially building up to what is going to be the finale of the first cour of the series, which is only one episode away. After that, we're gonna have to wait a couple more months before we get some sort of conclusion to what this series is ultimately going to lead to. But this episode right here was mostly focusing on the relationship between Suletta and Miorine, seeing how far it's come, and how Suletta has been dealing with all of her anxiety and the fact that she seems to have no confidence in herself, her abilities, or what people even think about her. It's something that I think is going to be relatable to a lot of people, and it again makes her one of the most unique Gundam pilots that I have ever seen. Now, that's not to say in the past we haven't had Gundam pilots who've had problems, especially when it comes to being sociable with other people, but Suletta is kind of a unique case in the sense that she very much is a teenager who's simply just trying to make her way in the world, and the fact that she's still very awkward just around everyone. But after the last couple of episodes, she's been starting to have some real doubts about her abilities and what people really think about her, and I'm really glad that they decided to squash a lot of that in this episode, because I was not ready for them to drag this out throughout the rest of the series. For me, I was not ready for that ride, so I was very satisfied to see when she finally laid it all out on the line for her mother that Miorine was listening to this secret conversation the entire time, and basically it allowed her to confront her personally and immediately, and Miorine does it in the best way possible, which is to say chasing her down through this ridiculous sequence and punching her repeatedly in the boobs. Sometimes words aren't enough. Sometimes you just gotta punch a tit.
Yeah, no problem. Oh.
But yes, like I said, most of this episode is about Suletta and her having her doubts in regards to Miorine, her friends, her comrades, and thinking, is anything that I've done previous even mean anything anymore? Am I even needed or wanted? It's kind of interesting for her character, and it's only going to drive home the fact that things are probably going to get more tragic and even a little more depressing as the series goes on, especially in relation to her mother and what her overall plan is going to be. Because while I can tell that at least her mother Elnora cares about her a little bit, she seems to care a little bit more about the giant fucking robot. Speaking of which, it looks like Ariel is going to receive some sort of upgrade, at least that's what's sort of hinted in this episode, and I don't know what that's going to be, but that one scene where her mother was looking up at the Ariel and was just so smitten with it is kind of creepy. She seems to care more about that than anything, and this is all going to tie into her ridiculous plan with Delling, which, like I said, is still sort of up in the air as to what they're actually going to do with it, because originally, like I said, I felt that she was trying to get revenge against him in some sort of way, and I have a feeling she's still going to try and use him and maybe pin some of this stuff on him, but ultimately Delling is a pretty important character in this episode despite not actually doing much, because everybody wants this dude dead, and this brand new organization, the Dawn of Fold, is going to be responsible for all of it, and while they are terrorists, they don't seem to want to go in murder, kill. They don't want to take out everyone, they simply just want to kill Delling, and they do it in a pretty unique fashion. We actually get to see that these two brand new characters, Sophie and Noria, witches from Earth, are going to be piloting these brand new Gundams, the Lifrith and the Lifrith Thorn. And Thorn are pretty big, chonky Gundams, but they have these big, giant weapons, which are are essentially giant lasers which allow them to slice through objects, and they basically are able to go to the Keta station, and they're able to sort of like isolate where Delling is, and they're able to basically cut off just that portion of the ship so that they can take it away for their very own devices, which is to say, to kill this dude. The entire episode is sort of a build-up to this moment, and I thought the tension was really perfect, and it went really well with all of the drama going on between Suletta and Miorine. It also gives us a little more time to understand these characters a little bit more, and they spend a lot more time on the character of Sophie Poloni, who is the pilot of Thorn. Or is it The point is, it's the big blue one. And Sophie just so happens to be fucking insane. If that wasn't apparent from her erratic personality, her obsession with wanting to meet Suletta, or the fact that she just has vampire fangs, she's pretty damn freaky and very trigger happy and simply wants to be the most destructive member of the Donna Fold, when compared to Noria, who seems to be very calm and collected. But again, this is sort of the yin-yang of these characters. They go together like lamb and tuna fish. This episode also gives me hope that we're going to see some sort of redemption for Gwail Jeddark's character. I do think that he's been one of the more interesting side characters of the series, especially with the fact that he's going under the new alias of Bob, and he's right there in the thick of it, actually getting his ass kicked by Sophie, and I mean quite literally kicked. She Falcon kicks the absolute bejesus out of him in this episode, and it looks painful as all hell, again just demonstrating how sick and twisted she really is. But ultimately, your enjoyment of this episode is going to be determined by how much you care about the relationship of Suletta and Miorine. It truly does come to a head in this episode as they finally come together and explain why they so desperately need one another. Suletta needs someone to give her confidence, and in a way, so does Miorine. Before Suletta, Miorine had nothing. She simply wanted to run away from her father and go to Earth. But Suletta has given her a brand new purpose, the ability to form relationships, have friends, start a brand new company, and actually create something of a salvageable relationship with her father, despite the fact that she still sees him as an absolute massive douche. However, this moment of coming together is interrupted by the Donna Fold and their big operation taking place, and it even manages to separate the two characters, which is definitely going to add a lot more tension to what's going to be happening next, as we all have to remember, this is a Gundam anime after all, and just about any character could die at any moment. I am super pumped up to see what the next episode of the series is going to bring. I mean, we're obviously going to get some mobile suit action. We're going to get the Ariel with its brand new upgrade, battling against both Sophie and Noria. I have a feeling there's going to be some massive twists and turns and maybe even a big revelation, which is going to open things up for the rest of the series. And I really hope that it's going to end up paying off, because everybody has their very own thoughts and theories as to regards to who Suletta could truly be, if she's the original Eric, if that's actually connected to the Ariel itself. There's going to be a lot of revelations in the next episode, and like I said, I just really hope they work. Lastly, let me gush about some things about this episode that I really enjoyed. First and foremost, I loved the scene where Suletta was gushing to her mother and sort of confiding in her about everything that's been going on with her, Miorine, and all of her comrades, and it's followed by this really great chase scene of watching them run around in zero gravity, and I don't know what it was, but it was very enjoyable just watching them bounce around, run on the walls, and it was just interesting. I really liked it. Also, the more I see of these brand new Gundams, the and the Thorn, the more I like them. Again, they're big, they're fat, they're chonky, and they're awesome. And speaking of big and fat, that character of Kananji from the prologue is back, and boy, did he put on the fucking pounds. I'm excited to see how all of this is going to wrap up. I have no idea how it's going to go down, and that alone is what's got me really excited to see what's going to happen next. I loved this episode, and just like the rest of the series, I still think it's a continuous 4 out of 5, having a few minor moments that didn't quite hit in terms of the animation and the artwork, but for the most part, the story, the characters, the mobile suits, everything, all of that good stuff you love about Gundam, it's carrying the show, and it's doing a really great job with it. Ultimately, all of it is probably going to hinge on the next episode and where it's going next, but that remains to be seen. We have no idea what that's going to be, so I'm just along for the ride. But if any of you did watch this episode, I would absolutely love to get your thoughts about it, and you can tell me all about them in the comments section below on this episode, what you think is going to be happening next, thoughts, theories, the Ariel upgrade, some battles that are going to happen, and what the hell's the deal with the Witch from Mercury anyway? So there it is, guys. Let's have a big discussion all about it. Comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.